Cloudcast Media.
Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, and this is a thrill for me. I haven't seen my longtime friend and buddy and colleague in a long time, and this is Don Wells. He is the CEO and mentor of Just in Time for Foster Youth. How you doing, Don?
I'm doing great, Drew, and you have a knack for inviting me when I have lots of things to talk about. So.
I think you always have a lot of things to talk about, and it's always good, and it's always life-changing, and it's the beneficiary, of course, of those wonderful foster youth that have had the privilege of working with you and going through the program and now being on your staff and doing great things in the community. You've been involved, this is the 20th year you've been involved with Just in Time, started off as a volunteer in 2003 and joined the board in 2009 and became ED, now CEO, in 2010. Time flies, does it not?
It does fly, especially when there are so many great things happening and you're working with young people. Young people are just amazing to work with.
No, they are. We should all be working with young people on this. For those very few people of our spotlight audience that have not heard of Just in Time, what is your mission?
Our mission is to make sure that every young person comes out of foster care with a caring community waiting for them. We believe that disconnection is really the biggest gap for young people who are in foster care. We serve youth who are 18 until they turn 27. And what we try to do is make sure they have a feeling of belonging, that connection is filled with caring volunteers, other youth, and our staff who are predominantly lived experience themselves. And at the end of the day, when they get to be 27, now they have that community of support that they haven't had for most of their lives.
Right. And, when you think about this, and I know you've been coming on the show, I want to say almost since 2010, since we launched our podcast, Spotlight on the Community. It was called Internet Radio at the time, as you remember, in 2007. And it's just grown. It's so cool to see what has happened and transpired in this. But one of the things that I always have to talk about when I have you on the air, and I think it's really important, and with this population of a youngster and a young adult, is what you guys provide is something that has been missing, and that is trust. And that is so critical.
It is. And, the thing is, the young people that we work with, and this goes to the trust issue. So the reason they've been disconnected is they started off in a family and
right.
Things weren't going well. And so then they go into foster care. So that's an initial thing where the people that are my parents are not able. Sometimes it's just that they're not able.
Right.
It's not that they're terrible people. But then they go into the foster care system and get moved around again and again with different placements. And then they come out of the foster care system and they're still disconnected. And so of course, if you're in a healthy family and a healthy community, you do have that sense of there are people around me who
That's right.
are going to take care of things while I'm growing up. They don't have that. So when they leave foster care, now they don't trust anybody who's saying we're going to help because they've been told that before.
Right.
So that's why it's been so important for us to have young people who are impacted by foster care as our staff, because now they walk into the door, they're expecting the same thing that they've had before, and they're greeted by somebody who was in foster care themselves. And they say, this is going to be different.
And it is different. And, we all know that, there's 50 million things that go into, helping those students that are having issues and have been never hugged before, which is mind-boggling, but that's true. We're told I love you. We're told you're valued, or whatever the case may be. For most of us, we can't even imagine that.
Yeah.
But that's the world very, very well in this area. And now they see this. My goodness, someone's listening and reaching out to me, and not doing it once. They're doing it every single day.
Well, and we have a thing called Coach Approach to Mentoring, which is all about if you come to our community and you want to be a mentor, it's not about you coming and judging and telling and fixing.
Right.
You're coming to understand, ask questions, and empower. Because we like to say, it's the whole thing, I don't care what you think until I think that you care. And if you haven't even asked me a question yet, how can you advise me on anything? You haven't really made any effort to find out who I am before you get there. So that's the starting point. And also, if you're trying to fix things, then when you're not there, then what happens? So you have to empower young people, not fix things for them.
Right. I know that's the journalist in you coming out, and me too. You got to ask questions. You got to be curious about the person you're sitting across the room for, and that aspect of it. We're chatting.
Something you said reminded me of something I think I would like to also mention. This is a personal thing. So I got involved in this because I was at Channel 10.
Right.
I started a campaign after the Combine shootings to recruit male mentors. So I became one myself. So I started mentoring 2 young people who went into the foster care system. And that's when I learned what they were going to be expecting. But to your point about not being hugged or have somebody say they love you, one of the young people I was mentoring, I started with her brother, and then I started mentoring a young woman. She was 8 at the time. And when she was 11, I was still in her life. We were watching Shrek for the 12th time. And she turned to me and said, "Why are you still here?" Because that was the longest continuous adult connection she'd had. And I thought no young person should be asking an adult why you're still in their lives.
Yeah.
And I was also told not to hug her because, there might be some issues might come up. And that made no sense to me. And now that 8-year-old, she's 31 now, and we did an adult adoption just last year. So now she's my actual daughter. She was my daughter on purpose for all those years, and now she's actually my daughter.
Congratulations. That's very, very heartwarming. And you're spot on in this aspect of it. We're chatting with Don Wells. He's the CEO and mentor. Just in time for foster youth. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you're listening to another edition of Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things for San Diegans for 60 years. I know you are very geeked up about this project, and that's your mental wellness access project.
Exactly. And so we've been talking about some of the challenges that young people have who have come out of foster care. And we always made an effort to try to mitigate the effects of adverse childhood experiences, ACEs, because our population has a high level of those adverse childhood experiences. And then during the pandemic, everything just got exacerbated. So we were calling everybody who was part of our community and asking them how they were doing, because they were losing jobs, having financial issues just like everybody else, but they could not move back in with their parents. They didn't have those long-time support system set up. So we were calling them and saying, how can we help? How can we help? Even our alumni who were 27 and over, we were calling them. And the biggest thing that everybody said, because they were having those challenges, but they said the biggest thing is I feel isolated. I feel anxious. I thought that I had gotten past this, and now it looks like I my worst fears may be realized, and I'm going to end up in the same situation I was before, where things are unstable and I can't take care of myself. So we decided at that point that we were going to treat mental wellness as a basic need. It's not something that you do when you have time or when you get to that place. It's a basic need. So we decided that we were going to make sure that every young person in our community had access to mental wellness therapy if they wanted it, mindfulness training. And so we hired a clinical psychologist on staff. We made a partnership with Alliant International University with graduate students, and now we have 5 graduate students who are there on a regular basis, free access to mental health services. And we started that in spring, and it's been so popular. These young people who really avoided therapy because they had such a bad experience before, they're telling their friends they want to do couples therapy, they want to do family therapy, and so we're going to try to double that access next year by hiring another person and getting more of those graduate students in. It's just been phenomenal.
No, that's terrific. So how does one become part of JIT? You're out of the system, you're 18 now. How do you find them? Do they come to you because you've been working with other groups like Promises or whatever the case may be?
Right. We get referrals from other people because our whole thing is community. We provide resources. We help people get their driver's license.
That's right.
We help with job training. We help with financial literacy, education. We help with all that. But on the foundation is this community. And I want to say another thing about the pandemic. When the pandemic started, we were serving about 850 individual youth every year. This year, the last 6 months, we served 2,800.
Wow.
And that's connection. It's not necessarily people are saying, I need some financial distribution. I just need connection. And so we are doing that at a level that we've never done before. And we recognize that is the primary thing that has been missing for their lives. You can get resources if you still have a sense of being disconnected, if you don't have a sense of belonging, you don't think people are rooting for you, those resources are not going to be as effective as if you have that basis.
But Don, when you triple the touch points, 850 to 2,800, there has to be some increase in the people on your staff that needs to do it, unless we're splitting you in 400 pieces, right?
Well, I was being split back in 2010 when I first met you.
Right.
We only had 2 people on staff.
I know.
Now we have 40. We have 40 people now from 2. And again, part of what we do is we leverage the community. There are people in the community who would love to create this sense of belonging for young people.
Right.
So we have hundreds of volunteers who, different things. Some people are financial advisors. Some people help with learning to drive. Some people have create access to employment opportunities. We have people who are mentors for the people who are going to college. And we've talked about this before, the graduation rate for foster youth from college is about 2 to 6% of all youth graduate from college. Our college-bound students, 75, 80%.
Right, which is the biggest no-brainer on why you should support Just in Time for Foster Youth. If nothing else, think about the contribution of those folks from 2 to 6% graduating to 75% and what they're contributing. It's spectacular. Don, we come back from break. I want to talk about this cool new book that is going to be coming out sooner than later. It was Life-Changing Choices, the 7 Essential Choices at the heart of transformation change for foster youth and your community. And I want to talk about your 100K community. Listen, I mean, certainly the word community is associated with Don Wells. As long as I've known you, you talk about this incessantly, and talk about what that's all about when we return chatting with our good friend, Don Wells, CEO and mentor for Just in Time for Foster Youth. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things in San Diego for more than 60 years. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you're listening to Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union and the beautiful Mission Fed studios here in Scripps Ranch. Mission Fed been doing great things for San Diegans for 60 years. We are chatting with Don Wells, CEO and mentor, just in time for foster youth, about continued phenomenal work that this organization does for those folks that have sort of left the foster world, I guess, when they were 18, and now they got 18 to 27, and they're doing just wonderful things. And I'm going to say way past 27, because you got people that are older than that are coming back and working with you, working in the community, and so forth. And right before break, we were just talking about this book you are so proud of that'll be coming out sooner than later. It is Life-Changing Choices, the 7 Essential Choices at the Heart of Transformation Change for Foster Youth in Your Community, written by your talented just-in-time staff, coming out in about, 2 weeks or so?
Yeah, we were hoping 2 weeks. We're doing final edits this weekend, and then we're going
to... So as a news director, can you help yourself with edits?
Well, actually, Diane Cox, who's one of the founders, she's a really great editor.
Okay.
I'm good at looking at the blank page and filling it up, but I'm not the best proofreader in the world. That's one thing I've learned.
There you go. Talk about the book.
So the genesis of this book is we've been around for 20 years now. This is our 20th anniversary, and we've got 2 decades of trying to find out the way to make things work for the young people who are impacted by foster care. So we're starting now to have people ask us about how we do it and what's the secret of our success. And so we decided that we want to scale our impact by sharing what we're doing. It's not that we want to say we're going to create a just-in-time in different cities. We want to help other people who already have a community in different cities to figure out how to use our model to get there. So this book really talks about what we see as the 7 really essential choices that you have to make. And it sort of comes through from the standpoint of people who talk about, the system doesn't work and we need to change the system. And our view is that the system was designed in a way that is creating the results that we've had all these years. And if it was really broken, somebody would have fixed it by now. But really, the system comes from the orphan trains that started in the 1850s, where they took children from the streets of New York and sent them out to the Midwest to work on farms.
Right.
And when the train arrived, those children would get off the train and go up on a platform, up for adoption. And they would be chosen by people to say, yeah, we'll take that one, go work. And that same model of taking children from broken families, broken children, and placing them someplace is really what we're still doing to some extent. So this book says nothing's going to change until you change the underlying mental model.
Right.
So there's the 7 choices that we came up with. There are things like, are you trying to protect people or are you trying to empower them? Because that's a different mindset, and you do different things if you're protecting than you are empowering. Or are you creating a system or a community? Do you see the young people as being damaged and deficient, or do you see them as being creative, resourceful, and whole? So there's 7 choices that if you really go in one direction, you get what we've gotten. If you go in this other direction, then it becomes a whole different thing. And now you're empowering young people who are creative, resourceful, and whole in a community. You're asking them what they need as opposed to you telling them what they should need. And that's what the book is really about. It's sort of a why book as opposed to a how-to book.
Right. So how long have you been thinking about this book? A long time.
Yeah, we've been thinking about it for a long time.
Right.
But, again, we've really gotten to a place now where we think we know what we're doing.
I'm going to say.
And so it's time to do that.
Right. And I mean, did you guys all lock yourself in a room like in the old movies, and you're sitting here, no one is leaving at this room until we come up with the chapters of these things and these essential choices? Because obviously there's a lot of thinking into this understatement of the world, just like you said. Are we trying to help and nurture, or are we trying to empower? Are we trying to do this? Are we trying to do X, Y, and Z? And you're right, they're 2 different avenues.
Right. So we have been discussing those choices for a while.
Right.
So we laid out an outline for what those 7 choices, the most important ones were. And then different people on staff were assigned to write different chapters. And again, the lived experience staff, there were 7 people who worked on this. 5 of those 7 were lived experience staff. So they were writing about creative, resourceful, and whole versus damage, and they were writing about systems versus community. They were writing about asking the people who have the challenges what the solutions are, as opposed to the experts. And then we took everything together, and
but they are the experts.
Yeah, exactly,
Correct?
Exactly. I remember somebody when I first started at Just in Time, and I was hiring young people who had lived experience. And somebody said to me, "Well, don't you need people who have more experience, as in somebody with social work background?" I said, "I'm hiring people with experience."
Who better? Are you kidding
exactly.
me? Yeah, sometimes as humans, brain doesn't engage as quickly as it should. And I'm not putting everybody under the bus on that aspect of it, but of course you want to be people that have experienced it, and they can tell you how they experienced it and what you should have done better.
Right. Well, and I think some of it just comes from a place we've gotten where we professionalize everything. So I can't just go talk to somebody about a problem they have. I have to have a psychology degree, and then I can do it.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty exciting. So March, can you find it on Amazon? And
it'll be available on Amazon. We were going to get an ebook done, and I might have to come to you when we want to do a podcast that's about life-changing choices, where we talk about this on a regular basis.
Well, let me tell you something, and I wish Charles was in the room here. I think we're going to do something like this. Here I am spending his money, which I'm good at doing, and actually it's part of my money too. Do you know who Blair Sadler is?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Blair has written a book called Pluck, okay? Parentheses, P, close parentheses, Luck.
Okay.
It's 15 chapters, and it's based on the experience of Blair and his brother, which I never knew this. I've known Blair for a billion years when he was running Children's Hospital. You knew him from that as well.
Right.
Blair and his brother Alfred developed the nation's first organ donation law, and 911, and emergency services, and physician's assistants.
I had no idea.
Correct. And I'm going, I've known you for 26 years. And she goes, well, that's why we wrote the book Pluck. We're doing a 15-series sound curriculum on each chapter. I will tell you right now, we're going to get Charles in here, that we should be doing that for every one of those. And we did. And we've recorded 11 of them. We got 5 more to go, if you're interested.
Oh, absolutely. That'd be great.
So, we turn it into a curriculum for anybody, because all those learnings doesn't make a difference. You're in the foster youth or you're in Timbuktu.
And that's why it's for foster youth and your community.
Correct.
Because it does. It applies.
Guess what? Just created more work for us over here. Now, the downside is you're going to have to be interviewed by me for every one of these things here, and we'll tee that up. Well, I can't wait to talk to Charles about this.
Every good thing comes with a cost.
The pain for you is you got to hang out with your friend Drew in this aspect of it. Talk a little bit about the 100K community.
Well, this is sort of the same thing. Yeah. So we were starting to get a lot of people talking to us about how can we do this where we are, partly because we had young people who were leaving San Diego to go other places to move for whatever reason, and they were looking for just in time where they were. And there was nothing. And so we started thinking about how can we do that. We actually have an organization up in Santa Clarita 5 years ago, came down. We did a whole thing. They've been operating for 5 years now. So we said we want to make this available to more people. And so we are scaling by sharing. We're not going to go and start a one in Minneapolis just in time. We're going to find somebody in Minneapolis who already has a community and help them to elevate and accelerate what they're doing. So right now we actually have a group in Boston who's going to do our financial fitness using our same model, community-based, youth-led in Colorado Springs and in Utah. So, in fact, the group in Utah, they came down here. It was a corporation. They were doing a conference, and so one of our staff members spoke. They ended up giving us some contributions. They said, now we understand what the problem is. We're going to go back to Utah and support somebody in Utah who's doing the same sort of work. Couldn't find anybody. So they reached out to us and said, we're going to start it ourselves because it needs to happen. And so we're going to help them from ground up to do it and again, accelerate and do it faster than they would do if they were doing it on their own.
So those folks who are listening to this, and it's being passed out to someone in Rochester, New York, or in Bozeman, Montana, or whatever the case may be, how do they get a hold of you, Don?
Well, get a hold of me slowly.
Right, you're drinking out of a fire hose, right?
Yeah, we're hoping that once we get this going and we have a few under our belt, we'll be able to build an easily, a scalable model, and then we hope to get some support from some foundations, because a lot of these groups, they don't have the capacity necessarily. They need to build that, and we need to increase our staff so we can help them. So we're hoping to do a model where we show measurable results and people fund it, and it creates a movement across the country where everybody is doing the same thing about empowering, seeing people who are creative, social, and whole, hiring foster youth to be the people who are designing and operating things.
Such a no-brainer. But listen, this is what I say about no-brainers. So the wheel, 3000 BC. Okay, suitcases, probably 3 BC. Wheel on suitcases, 1950. Really? Are you kidding me? And I've been saying that for about 25 years, and someone goes, never heard that analogy before. But it's true. It's the things that are in front of your face.
Right.
And of course it is. So if people want to find out more about Just in Time, do they just go to the website?
Yeah, go to the website, jitfosteryouth.org. And again, we're still building community here because we are now serving more and more youth. We need more and more people who want to make that kind of connection possible. So there's all kinds of things you can do. Just go to the website. We'll find a place.
Don Wells, always great content when you come in, which is the benefit of our listeners in that. Cannot wait to have you back in to chat more about life-changing choices. And what I always love when you come in is that you bring in someone that has gone through your system, that is either working for you now or is doing other things. And so let's get you back in with someone or a couple of your colleagues.
We have 5 authors who can come in and talk about their chapters.
I'm going to have to buy some more mics then, aren't I, or something like that?
No, one at a time.
Okay, very good. Don Wells, always a pleasure seeing you, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Don Wells, he's the CEO and mentor of Just in Time for Foster Youth. I'm Drew Schlosberg, as you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show on Cloudcast Media, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things in San Diego for more than 60 years.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.